let's go ahead and have a seat. You hear that sound? I think it's actually just a straight up wind, and that's a dead squirrel that smells a lot. You know, I'm not one to, I'm not the biggest omen guy, but if it smells real bad, you might want to stay away for a while. That's just how I feel about things. Dirty pants, dirty socks, in certain territories. Sometimes you just gotta call it when you see it, you know? It's always odd to start this thing. I say always because I've actually done this more times than you guys have been here. You were there, but, well, I just haven't posted because sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes the music doesn't gel, and I haven't done this too much beyond that fact, but I used to do a lot of analog stuff, and for space consumption purposes, it's just not efficient. Not efficient enough, anyway. And there are a lot of people out here lately. It's really great because this is a great park for people to be in. It's one of my very favorites, and it's good to know that it's catching on with the people. Excuse me. But that means it's a little more difficult for us to really relax because we do look kind of weird. Although, I was out at a local supermarket the other day. Well, as local as the supermarket could be. The local megacorp market. And there was a guy down the dairy aisle who was just yakking to himself, just going at it. And I was like, oh man, I recognize that. The different thing was he was doing it at, well, I won't say, but he was just doing it in a very public space. That seems somehow much more public because it's populated with a certain set. I don't want to weird people out because, you know, we're just here kicking it. You know, it can weird people out. They're not used to this at all. It's rather unusual. But anyway, this guy was really rocking and rolling. He was just yakking away as he walked down the aisle, and I thought, wow, the cojones. And sure enough, technology has kind of led us all to have these earpieces, it seems, when we're on the cell phone. I, for one, do not have a cell phone at this point. I haven't been able to latch onto that. The prospect rather frightens me. You know, I don't like the idea. I feel badly if I ever interrupt anyone. I know that back in the day, I remember I was seen as kind of a, it wasn't interpreted the way I meant it to be back in the day when I would be in the lunch hall, the mess hall, and I'd be eating lunch by myself. I have no problem with this. I'm an only child, no big deal. I'd write ideas down on napkins and so on. But yeah, a lot of people were like, dude, after a while, they're like, dude, you just don't like us, or what's crack-a-lack? And I was like, well, I really don't want to interrupt. I felt like I was interrupting. And they're like, dude, you're not interrupting. We're just sitting around chatting, eating food. Come on, dude, grab on down. I was like, all right, sweet. And so we kicked it after that. But the idea is I didn't want to interrupt people. With a cell phone, I mean, you're just bound to interrupt. They're interrupters. Hey, what's up? How goes it? Are you looking for people? I like people. I've told you guys, I didn't used to care much for them. I used to think I was above them, you know. And I'll tell you what, not only was I an ass for thinking so, and not only was it just naive and arrogant and really ignorant, but the root of that thinking was actually based in the reality that we're kind of predictable, you know. And it's not because we're all the same, and it's not because, well, there's just a certain limit on how different you can be. It's not really that. It's just that, you know, we do act according to a number of preset parameters. You guys see that? We got more people rolling this way. We just got to get used to this in public. That's just how we got to get used to it. I'm getting used to it as you guys are. Because I'm not going to call it quits on this. I'm relaxed, we're chilling, no big whoop. Do I change your angle? Let's change your angle. So it's not as awkward for them. Hello, hello. Found him. Nice. What's up? What's up? They seem to handle it pretty well. And I was getting around to before, you know, these people in the supermarkets with their headsets on kind of validate in a lot of ways at least the behavior that we're enjoying here. You know, it looks like he's talking to himself. I mean, it really does. And I guess we're adjusting as a culture to people who do that in very public settings, and so it's more par for course. Though, admittedly, your visuals are a new element that kind of give me away. But the behavior itself doesn't strike me as so funky. Technology really does give way to new behaviors, and that's, I think, a really neat reality. I think it's kind of cool. I mean, imagine when the spoon came around. Everyone's like, dude, have you seen this spoon? Yeah, so-and-so made one the other day. Yeah, you can just make, I mean, like out of plants and stuff. So they made the spoon. It really changed the way people ate. Yeah, pretty cool, pretty cool. But I've been listening to a lot of stuff on YouTube as I go through some of the videos to make sure that I'm getting my stuff up to spec. My radio really has been YouTube through my computer because I'm plugged in anyway. And I found a song by Elizabeth from the Cocteau Twins, the group to which we are now listening, and Jeff Buckley. It's called All Flowers in Time, I believe it's called. It's a really beautiful song, really works out well. They reportedly had a romantic interest in one another, if not a romantic relationship. And I thought it was kind of neat and perhaps fitting. I wondered about the age gap, but I saw some stuff from back in early Cocteau Twins history where they sang an old Tim Buckley song. I thought that was kind of interesting, rather apropos, and perhaps causal. I don't know. Excuse me. It's a beautiful day. It's still warm for November, but you know, hey, we do what we can. Yeah. I was watching this thing today. I've been talking to a few people about belief and religion and so on, and you guys, you know, I'm not sure how to approach certain issues necessarily in the most couth way, I suppose. Like I know I've mentioned it before, God and so on, and religion, belief systems and so on are really kind of dodgy as far as shared conversation is concerned. But you know, it's probably important for me to just kind of establish my own beliefs before you guys go on either paying credence to what I say or not paying mind to what I say. Either way you hack it. I'll just inform you a little bit. I'm a firm believer in a higher power creator being. Yeah, and that's just true. I didn't start that way, though I was raised religious and I have some very spiritual folks. Both of them, but particularly Mom, very much involved in and very strong believers in the spirituality of mankind. I was raised around it, but I never really dug it. I never really felt it was for me, and I just didn't really. I mean, how do you know? My big question when I was a kiddo was, okay, so you ask God a question. How do you know that the answer is not you, but rather God? How do you know? How do you know that you're touched by an angel, as it were? And rather not yourself, or one of those around you. And the idea is, of course, well, you know, angels are all around us and they can't take human form and blah, blah, blah. And you're like, okay, so it's just kind of a coverall. But that still doesn't necessarily relate to you on your back porch, you know, as you have a drink or two and you discuss things with the Creator. Are you filling in the blanks, or is he or she or it? You know, these are things that, this is basically where I was in college, post-college, even before that. I've never questioned the Creator, the existence of a Creator, a solitary Creator, but I didn't really delve too deeply into it. Because, I mean, where do you go with that? You're like, okay, so what? You know, I never got really involved with it. Anyway, the point is, one of the most interesting and important things to occur throughout the course of my, excuse me, let me get your cord is out of the way here. One of the most important things, according to my experience in the conversion process to Judaism, was actually, or rather is, my relationship with Hashem, God.